Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. We are moving on here into Xander's Guide to Everything.
Right.
Decided to go ahead and do this one next.
New book!
Lots of requests for it, and we decided let's just do it.
Yes.
So the first subclass up in here is the Path of the Ancestral Guardian for the Barbarian.
Right. A more unique kind of a subclass theme for a barbarian, which I find really interesting. Subtle hint, this is probably my favorite barbarian subclass of all the ones that they have. Because it's a little bit different, there's a little bit more depth to it than besides just, hey, can I smash that? Yes. Which is what normal barbarians like to do. So this is a little different, and I think it's really interesting to say the least, as we'll go ahead and get into it.
Yes. So first up, we have the Ancestral Protectors at level 3. Basically, when you rage, your spectral warriors appear to protect you, and the first creature you hit with an attack on your turn becomes the target of the warriors. So basically, when you hit something, until the start of your next turn, the target that you hit has disadvantage on any attack roll that isn't against you. And when the target does hit something that is not you, the damage is halved.
Yeah.
So, pretty good.
Yeah.
And the only caveat is that you have to be raging to do this, and
Yep.
if your rage ends, the effect ends early as well. Which,
Fair enough.
if you're a barbarian, you're not raging, something's...
You're not doing your job.
you just-
Or you got knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Right.
You're supposed to do. At level 6, you also get Spirit Shield, which essentially, if you can see an ally within 30 feet of you take damage, you can use your reaction to reduce this damage by 2d6. So it eats up your reaction, so you can't opportunity attack, but nice defensive help for some friends.
Right.
This damage also increases to 3d6 at level 10 and 4d6 at level 14. There is no use limit to this. It's just you spend your reaction every turn to for somebody other than yourself. If they're within 30 feet of you, they take damage. You use a reaction to say you take that much less damage every time around. Simple enough, but nice survivability for your party.
Then at level 10, we have Consult the Spirits.
Right.
So, when you are feeling down, you don't know what to do, and
You're not thinking clearly because you're a barbarian.
Right. You can do something that is very unique to the subclass, which is you can use a couple spells.
Yes, right. You heard right. Spells.
You can cast
Barbarian
Augury or Clairvoyance. So definitely RP-based spells here.
Yes.
Augury basically lets you kind of see to the future 30 minutes, and the DM gives you some hints as to what your course of action might turn into be.
Right.
And Clairvoyance is kind of like a magical sensor that can spy on things within a mile of you. And it says specifically that the clairvoyance that you use actually summons an invisible spectral spirit of an ancestor to the location instead of the typical sensor that you would get. And once you cast either spell, you can't use the feature again until you finish a short or long rest.
Yeah.
So a short rest is nice, but they are definitely RP spells. You're probably not going to need to use them that often.
Right.
But when you do, they can be pretty helpful.
Yeah, just helping you get a jump up on what either RP or combat setting you may be getting into in the next, 30 minutes to an hour. You're like, okay, we're going to climb that mountain and we're going to go into this temple that's on top of this mountain. I'm going to cast Clairvoyance. It's up there because I've been there before.
Right.
Want to make sure that, there's nobody that's taking over the place and not sitting there and wait in line and wait for us.
Yeah. Helps you not get, you can get to get prepared a
Yeah.
bit more.
Much less likely to run into a sneak attack,
Right.
big ambush kind of thing. So,
Definitely.
very nice. And your last ability at level 14 is Vengeful Ancestor. So with your Spirit Shield ability that you get at level 6, when it reduces that damage to an ally within 30 feet, the attacker also takes that damage back as retaliate style damage as force damage. There is no save for this. There is no roll to hit with this, like you're like attacking for your ancestor. It's just a straight up passive reverberate that damage back at them. So,
So
your rogue friend is fighting against a guy that's 20 feet from you. He gets hit by one of the two attacks that swings at him. Well, guess what? You got hit for 30 damage. I'm going to reduce that by 46, and whatever you reduce it by, the attacker takes that back to the face.
Right.
So instead of 30, now it becomes 15, and they dealt you 15, they took 15.
Right.
So it's you get the survivability and there's the extra passive damage, and that's what we really like about all of these abilities are there's no limit to the use on them. It's just there is stipulations of you got to be raging.
Yeah, I'm trying to rage.
Which we'll go over a little bit more in a minute, but that's But very, very cool abilities that help with survivability for not only yourself, but mostly your party as a whole.
Definitely. All right, guys, we're going to move right into the scoring section now.
Yes.
First up with the RP value. With this subclass, it's got some interesting little things here. It does get the use of Consult the Spirits, which is actually can be pretty helpful.
Yeah.
And it does have a pretty unique effect there, being able to see into the future and get some foresight into your combat, especially being with a barbarian and having like danger sense and stuff like that. It really does tie in well interesting with that. So we decided to go ahead and give it a 3 for the RP value, just because as a general, barbarians don't really typically get much of any RP.
Right.
So whenever they get something, they get a little bit of a boost there
all right.
for that. And it kind of, it gives you a little bit extra, some of that indirect stuff, whereas your spirits and crap going on.
There's a lot of, we talk about it every video we do, that we're assuming that you're going to do, at least make some effort to put in some RP on your character on your behalf. But with this one, there's a little bit extra flavor that's built into the subclass that makes that a little bit easier.
Yes.
And that you can go really in depth with like rituals as to how you contact your ancestors. Are there the ancestors you reach is a different one every time?
Yeah.
Or is it like 2 or 3? Maybe you've got 2. One's more intelligent and wise, and one's more like super aggressive, ragey side. So which one do you actually listen to?
It gives the DM some extra stuff to kind of play with.
Right, yeah. Besides just some simple RP abilities, there's a lot of depth there that you wouldn't get with most, especially barbarian.
And you have to give a bonus too because of the short rest. You get them back on short rests.
Right.
So pretty much anytime you are healing up, you can kind of scout out ahead.
Right.
There's no reason not to, basically.
Right.
Scout out ahead every time you have short rest. So pretty frequent uses and seems good.
Combat side of things is definitely where most barbarian subclasses shine. This one is no exception. Right. We go with a 4.5 out of the 5 possible flumps for combat. 3 of the 4 abilities are strictly combat. It's very, very hard in the way the combat rules are set up for 5A to have a traditional tank, per se, because there's not a lot of hard taunts to pull aggro. But the way this subclass is built is, it's kind of a soft taunt. It's like, if they don't attack you, it greatly punishes the other people for not hitting you. It's like, oh, you're going to hit him? You're going to hit him with disadvantage, and then he's going to resist it to whatever damage you do to him.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Let me know how that goes for you. And then you're, of course, being a barbarian, you're taking reduced damage from, bludgeoning, piercing, slashes damage anyway if you're raging. Mm-hmm. That being really the only caveat that really slows this down is you've got to be raging to use all these abilities, which, like we said, if you're not raging as a barbarian in combat, it's either because you really don't think you need it, which if that's the case, it's probably really not considered a true combat, or you've been knocked unconscious, or you didn't do something right. It's really the only 3 factors that can happen.
Or your DM's just throwing tons of encounters at you and doesn't let you do it. But.
Right, if you just, but you'd have to have a ton of encounters. It'd be some long gaming sessions to have a ton of encounters like that. Of course, and it's a little bit harder early on because you don't have but 2 or 3, 4 uses of rage early on.
Right, early on you're going to have some hindrance.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a lower ceiling in your first 5, 6 levels, but by the time you get to 8, 9, 10, you've got enough usage if you do everything smart, and you should be fine with the health pool you're going to have.
It's when you're on, you're really on it because you have all of these things online at the same time, pretty much. But, the only thing is, again, the other side thing is if you're only fighting one creature, it's not going to let you use your reaction to reduce the damage and to deal back the force damage to the creature, because if it's attacking you, it has to be specifically on a party member. It can't be on yourself. You can't use reaction for yourself to hit back. So if you're only fighting one thing and it's actually hitting you like you would want it to in this subclass, it kind of eliminates that ability a little bit. Right. But
it doesn't happen all that often.
Right. You're not really. How often are you only fighting one creature? And if you're fighting one creature, do you really need to rage? Yeah. It's kind of one of those things there. It's the only thing, but pretty much other than that, when it is really on, everything's online, and it's really synergistic within itself of how well it works together.
Because there's not a lot of ways to prevent damage in for other party members besides like hit a saving throw to take half damage on an AoE spell.
And the thing is too, it'll help your healers because in 5e, it's the thing that comes up a lot is you can't really out heal damage. Right. Eventually, you're gonna get caught up because you run out of spell slots, and you just don't heal enough value unless you're like really taking advantage of certain spells that are broken wizards. Thanks for not gonna name it. We all know. But that being said, it is easier because it's going to mitigate the damage and it's going to help your
Yeah.
other party members. So this is a very helpful tanking subclass. Like
Yes.
it's very much good at mix
Defensive
what you
support.
do. Good.
Yes, very nice. Yes.
And lastly, we have the overall class synergy. Again, all of these abilities, barring the Consult the Spirits because that's the RP ability,
Sure.
do synergize pretty well with a lot of the things in the Barbarian, just because you have the ability to roll advantage on initiative, which gives you a chance to attack first,
Yep.
which lets you get in early, hit something
Yep.
round 1.
Your Ancestral Protector's proc.
Yep, get that procced off. And then for the rest of the combat, it's all going to be downhill from there because you're just rolling with,
Right.
keep hitting this thing, keep your rage up.
Yep.
It's going to get punished for not attacking you back.
Yep.
And then you're reactioning every turn on everything else.
Got your increased movement speed to help get to stuff. So
Right,
when you knock
exactly.
something down, you can race to the second thing so you get there to make sure you don't have that drop in your rage. You should either take damage or do damage in that given turn.
Right. So with what it does do with the base abilities of the Barbarian and how it synergizes in and of itself with the Spirit Shield and Vengeful Ancestors and how it synergizes with, like we mentioned, the movement and the advantage on initiative and your raging and everything. So to go with a 4 out of 5 flumps on that side of it. So pretty solid overall. But other than that, guys, this subclass is pretty simple. Barbarians are typically a little bit simpler than most.
Martial classes, folks.
Yeah, right.
New players, have them try out martial classes first.
Yes. Easy in, easy out.
Right. Get your feet wet, people.
Yes. So that's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. It is a really cool subclass. Like Alex mentioned, it's one of his favorite ones on here.
Yes.
And we really think it's interesting.
Yes.
And I think it's definitely worth checking out if you never considered it before. It gives you a little bit more options outside of just smashy smash.
Yeah.
You
And
get
very,
to,
very
you're the one
few
defensive.
supportive, defensive subclasses in the game, really.
Yeah.
So.
So check it out, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications whenever new videos come out. Leave us comments down below. Let you know what I thought of the video, so if you might want to see from us in the future.
Yes.
And as always, guys, thanks for watching.